Here fishy, fishy, fishy. Here fishy, 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 fishy. Now lionfish are an extremely popular aquarium fish, especially after the movie Juice Bigelow. Now this one's a Volaton lion, very easy to keep. The only issues you ever have with these guys is initially getting them to feed. Now at the start you've often got to feed them live food. Then they're pretty gluttonous, so they learn pretty quickly where the food comes from, and they soon start to associate you with food. And if you need to train them onto other foods, what you do is just always throw the food into the same place in the tank, and then once he comes up and just sits here waiting for the food, then what you do is always do a movement, like you might tap the tank, put your hand in the air and then throw it in, and then he'll soon learn to associate your movement with food. So then you start off feeding him live food, then you can start feeding him dead food, like frozen foods, then you can start feeding him pellets, and then eventually you can feed them anything you want, even a Cocoa Pop, because they learn to associate you with food. So there's various types of lionfish you can get. The Volatons are large, then you've got things like Antonatas, you've got zebra lionfish, dwarf lionfish, and they're very beautiful. And the only thing is, make sure you don't keep them with any small fish, because they're not aggressive by any means, but they will eat what fits in their mouth, and they've got a very big mouth. So as long as you keep them with fish that don't fit in their mouth, they're fine. You've got to be careful with them with things like triggers, because sometimes the triggers will rip their fins off. Things like eels, very popular to keep them with. And of course lionfish are poisonous. So if you do happen to have the misfortune of getting jabbed by their dorsal fin, then you will get injected with a neurotoxin. And if that happens, you need to go and put your finger or whatever you've got stung under hot water. And if you just put it under the hot tap and you let it get hotter and hotter and hotter until you can't bear the pain of the hot water, that actually breaks the neurotoxin down. So then when you take your hand out, besides the fact it's probably pretty red, then when the pain goes away from the heat, then the pain will also go away from the actual burn.